Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Crusader Missions Christian Warrior Talk, the Christian Fellowship Show where we drop what we're doing and we spend an hour together on Friday nights. No matter how busy, no matter how tired, no matter what we have going on, which all of us have a lot going on, let's face it, it is about us making each other a priority. So here we sit, exhausted. Hey, we the people. Exhausted, emotionally drained, but thankful and full of gratitude and humbled. So, can you give we the people a
That's on standby. This one, right? Okay, do it again. Oh, sorry.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
Oh, gosh, someone didn't set up the soundboard.
See that? See that? Threw me under the bus.
You threw me under the bus.
Linda.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
So, I don't know if you guys heard, if you watch our Instagram account, you probably know, and our Facebook. I think they're both linked. Last night we had an amazing night of fellowship. We had, a great dinner made by Lauren. And some wine, Trump wine, thanks to Mike Ferrugio, Jan Ferrugio donated it. Some terrible sweet wine, but we won't talk about that somebody else brought that was twist off. But just saying.
They've made improvements with the twist cap type of wines. It was just at this particular.
It might as well have been straight strawberry sugar wine.
I mean, you're not into the sweet dessert stuff.
But no, we had a good night of fellowship. A lot of biblical talk, church talk, family talk. And went to bed happy as can be. Had a terrible night's sleep, right? My body's been hurting. I've been hitting the gym now for about a month.
Yeah.
Gotten incredible results. Got my knees injected.
Yesterday.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
And then I don't know why I can't sleep. I'm restless all night, tossing and turning. And then thunder out of nowhere starts happening. Like, that's not rare. It's summer.
Well, I saw it when I was tucking chickens in at like 9 something. So newly dark. We could see lightning. Raquel and I went out and we could see lightning off at the distance, but it wasn't like there was no indications of rain, like nothing. It just seemed like one of those storms that passed by, you know. I had no clue.
I checked the forecast. We're supposed to get 0.08 inches.
Yeah.
0.08.
Weatherman for the win.
And then at about 3:30 in the morning, as I'm tossing and turning, it really starts thundering and lightning. B wakes us up we're awake. But B comes in, asks for some water. And then it made a downpour. But it sounded heavy, but it didn't sound any heavier than anything else.
Sleep.
We went from bone dry to a 7-acre lake in our backyard. A 7-acre,
you'd think
5 to 6 foot deep lake in our backyard. Now, our house is not like people think that we're like at risk when we flooded. We are 100 feet above the water. Like, there's no risk to the house.
We have a lot of variance in height on our property.
Yeah. There's 2 low spots. There's one in the cow field, which becomes a big pond that the cows really dig. It turns into a wading pool for them, and it's all good. And then there's the pig pastures. Now, we've had this problem in the past. In the spring and in the winter, when we don't have greens, sucking it up, we have had this. So I built a system for the big pigs to where if it flooded, they would be able to go uphill to the highland, be dry, and it wouldn't short out the fence when we disconnected the lowland stuff. And that system worked flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
But Oink and her 8 piglets were in the lowlands.
Yeah, they're in like a maternity ward, kind of
We
smaller
put them in the
section.
shades under the willows in an area that is not the first to flood, but it floods. And we didn't think about it. Now, praise be to God that I got a wild hair across my butt, and I decided to not keep them in their pig panel, hog panel pen.
So they've been in,
A steel cage.
yeah, like just linked together, like 5 or 6 panels. So it's a big circle because
about a 20-foot
the babies
round
were too
circle.
small to be trusted on only the hot wire. So there's hot wire around, but they were kind of interior in a panel circle. And we'd been kind of shifting that around because they dig up the ground really quickly there. And we were holding off because we still have 1 piglet to castrate. And the thought was keep them contained. So, because there's no way to catch them when have the run of the place. So we were going to keep them in the panels until we castrated that one, which was probably going to be this weekend.
Yeah.
And then let them go. But it was becoming fairly like Oink was starting to lift the panels up and let the babies out and all this stuff. So
I just had a feeling
it
it was
became obvious they
time
needed to
let them out. If we had not let them out, every single one of them would have drowned, including the mama, in my opinion.
Yeah, because Jason said that he could just see the top of it over the water line. So there's not a way that they would have been able to swim over. They would have been stuck in.
So luckily,
Donna.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
We're having way too much fun. It's an interesting
Yeah.
definition of fun.
Yeah. So
Farm drama.
So anyways, I'm sitting in bed, not thinking about flooding. Horrible night's sleep. My phone rings, 7:00 in the morning, and it's a friend and a parishioner who lives down the road. It says, Jason, you better go check on your pigs. There's crazy flooding everywhere. We got about 5 to 6 inches last night. From 0.08 to 5 or 6 inches in 3 hours, 4 hours. And so I hopped in the side by side.
Well, we could see out the windows. We can see if the cow field, the front section, is also one of the low-lying areas. And if that has standing water, it's pretty much guaranteed that the back has standing water. So we could see that there was a massive
Strength and honor,
puddle.
Steve.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
A massive puddle in the cow field. So we knew that the pigs were going to be in trouble.
So I hopped in the side by side, sped down there. And I didn't see Oink and her babies anywhere. I could see the pigs across the way. And I tried getting over there by going through it. And the side by side was not performing well. Now that thing is rated to go, in 6 feet of water.
Yeah, as long as the snorkels are
As long
above,
as
you're
the-
good to go.
And for something was wrong with it. So I backed out, went up and around, took the middle road, came down on that side, found all the big ones. And I don't see the littles or Oink anywhere. So I go around the backside. And I'm going and I'm losing all hope. I'm like, oh my God, we lost them all. And then I come around this little curve and I look and I see Oink on the side of the beach, the side of the hill. And I see she's got piglets with her. And I'm counting them and I'm counting them. And I'm like, there's only 7. There's one missing. And I'm waiting for it to come out from like the bush or whatever.
Mm.
And I just happened to catch motion out of the left of my eye. And there is the giant female penguin, like my giant. We're talking still small, but she's
The
the biggest
biggest
female.
of the girls, yeah.
she's going under for the last time. I'm looking over at her. She's gasping, going under. You can tell she's exhausted. She's barely moving. She's probably been swimming for hours in a circle. I'm there right as she's getting ready to go under, and I, dive in, go get her. She's shivering. I don't even know if she's like inhaled water, if she's gonna make it. She feels cold. I bring her over to Oink on the ground, and she's pretty lethargic and not moving. I'm like, oh man, she drowned. Like, she was thrashing on the surface and she drowned. I run back. Now I get a full head count to tell you, get food.
Well, no, you skipped a part. So you were FaceTiming me. So like I knew that this was happening. And then you tried to continue to finish the loop in the side by side, and it stalls in the water.
So now the side by side's dead in the water. And I gotta go back to the house. Call Tyler.
Our hero.
He
our hero neighbor.
drops everything, comes over to go swimming in this runoff mud hole. And we go get food. We bring food over there, and she's eating, shows some life, still lethargic compared to the rest. But I'm happy to report she's doing well.
I'm sure she was just exhausted.
Yeah. They're all enjoying their beachfront condo right now.
So they're not secure in the slightest other than by nature right
vegetation's
now. There's our perimeter, like the old, like original barbed wire fence kind of behind them up the hill to the neighbor's field. But they're really only kind of where they are because there's a lot of water around them. So we're hoping the water doesn't go down too much overnight because
they'll just stay in the field. We have Happy Pig.
Yeah, they definitely enjoy their meals.
They love us. They are social, and they know they got it good. But so anyways, I got to go get my Dodge Power Wagon. I drag it down there. I extend the winch all the way out from the side by side.
Goodness, you could reach it
on the other side all the way down. Tie the winches together and pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been one of those days where I think I've been in that. Tyler and I, because again the stuff grew up and it was grounding out high wire now.
Yeah.
So we had to go weed whack in the water. In waist deep water, we're weed whacking stuff, getting shocked from the electric fence. It's me, Tyler, and Jimmy. Hey, what's up, Christ my Lord?
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
So we are out there, and at this point, this is the positive side of the story. There is no loss of life.
Yeah.
We're all elated.
The emergency aspect
right?
of it
The emergency action is done. But we're still in crisis mode, meaning that there is no electricity going through anything. The pigs can figure out. Hey,
they did the last time.
These lines are just striped lines are just suggestions.
Yeah,
and it takes them about a day to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're out there, and it sucks. It sucks, but we're laughing, and Tyler is running the weed whacker, and I'm holding the fence up, and Jimmy comes up. Jimmy saw the post. Another congregant and friend drops everything, comes over here, and now he's in the mud with us. The nasty water with us out there. And we're all getting shocked. And Tyler's trying to weed whack right along the surface of the water. But the Chinese star on it spins so fast it sucks the thing down. And it shoots everything up in your face.
My God. So he got that job.
Oh my God. And we're all just laughing. We're swimming out there, swimming through this stuff, and it's one of those things I'll never forget.
At least you could turn it around to that.
Yeah, but that's why Christian fellowship shouldn't just be coffee and donuts in church.
Mm-hmm.
It should be doing hard things.
Yep. Hard, sucky things.
Hard, sucky things where your
Yeah.
character's tested. Like we weren't complaining the water's cold or this is that.
Mm-hmm.
It was about getting it done and ribbing each other at the same time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the reason why I love the Game of Thrones was not any of the other stuff. It was my favorite episode is when all these warriors from different backgrounds get around each other for the first time and they all start poking
Yeah.
and making it ribbon each other. And
Yeah.
I just love that. I wish they ended it right there,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, it just reminded me of the teams and we're out there, you know, in the suck, you know, and just made the best of it and grew as a fellowship, you know, grew as a fellowship. And, you know, and then of course I have to go in here and work.
Yeah.
And Jimmy and Tyler are out there working on the side-by-side solving problems.
Yeah.
That, you know, they're gearheads. They turn in, they're doing stuff. I have no idea. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
You know, they're O2 sensors, cylinders, things, fuel injectors, whatever.
All
they're
right.
doing all
I
that
would
stuff.
like to offer a strength and honor
Yeah.
to
Strength and honor.
Tyler
Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
and a strength
Strength
to
and honor.
Jimmy
Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
and to Charlie for thinking to
Strength and
call
honor.
us.
Strength and honor.
Charlie.
Strength and honor.
We would have gotten down there, but probably not as promptly as he suggested.
No, we would have lost one.
Yeah.
100% would have lost one.
Well, I'm so grateful that this one ended positively. And I know because we have commented several times that we're in a season of kind of testing on the farm and trials on the farm, where last year
Lord
was
sheltered us
so
from
largely
everything
smooth sailing. And we had a couple warning shots. Like we did have that area flood
in different
towards the end
seasons.
of the season last year. And, you know, we thought we made enough modifications, but we didn't account for the maternity ward being all lowland. And, but it was summer, so we thought it didn't matter. And I think, I mean, we've had these kind of back to back, you know, like losing the baby chicks and the cows having all of these
weird illnesses.
issues and then, you know, the pigs. And I think they are trials that have all come out. I mean, other than we couldn't recover the loss of the chicks, other than replacing them. But I think we're coming on the other side of it. Like, I think we're getting the lessons we need to from it. We're growing from it. We're learning from it. So I don't think we're failing in these trials.
No, I think if we don't honor the lessons learned,
Yeah.
right? You know, most SOPs, standard operating procedures or policies, are written in blood.
Mhm.
Someone had to die to learn it,
Mhm.
to make it. So you do that. That's a saying we have in the teams, you know, on why we do everything is because somebody died because they did it the wrong way.
Right.
And God has protected us from that, mainly. Hey, Jimmy, strength and honor.
That's Jimmy. All right. You get
Strength and
a
honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
that
Yeah.
tiki bar.
Jimmy at the tiki bar. and now we have to honor that,
Mhm.
right? We got to shift all of them to up the hill.
Yep.
You know, and talking to Warren and getting a dozer and
Yeah.
figuring out how to do that up there. You know, I don't want to play anymore in the lowlands. Even
Yeah.
though 362 days out of the year, it's fine. But it never happens during the day where you can watch it. It's at 3 a.m. when you can't see it, when you don't think it's bad. You know, because else during the day we would have been like, holy smokes, let's go check on that.
Oh yeah.
And it
100%.
takes a while to fill up. I mean, not a long time.
I'd
We
be so
had two
curious to
rivers
see a
filling up.
time lapse on that, like to see
And
how
when we
it
first got there,
progresses
that corner. Did I show you that video when I was live streaming?
of the
Come
kind of
in.
the waterfall-y looking thing. Yeah.
I mean, it was a full-on raging river, into our
Yeah.
our pond, where our pond is.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's got to be millions of gallons. I mean, I don't know how many millions of gallons. An average of 5 foot by 7 acres.
Mhm.
I mean, any math geniuses out there want to do the math on that?
I'll
Please
pass.
let us know. But
I'll pass on that one.
it was impressive.
Yeah, that's why I would just be curious to see, like, does it snowball, kind of compound, and how quickly it, like, a little bit at first, and then
I think it
or is it
must
just
have, and then I think what happens is you get all the runoff from the mountains around it into
everything?
it,
Yeah.
and then whenever that caused that river to crest to come into our thing,
Yeah. Just expedites it.
once that happens, it's just got to rise in real time.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a bathroom tub or something.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But scratched up, tired, stressed, but feeling very blessed. Came out of 2.5 weeks of
Yeah.
down in the dumps, feeling terrible. Dark season. And this week was different, way different. And then to kind of have the exclamation of a trial, a challenge, and a victory just felt like an exclamation point on the end of it.
I think too, I mean, you've been very bummed by kind of the seeming lack of your war council and things like that. And you see the people who are not there,
Yeah.
or the size of it that you wish it was, that it's not. And I think, a day like today is just highlights, it doesn't matter how many, but the quality of who is there. And you got a big testament to that. You have people who are there for you.
Yeah.
And, it might just be a couple, but they are strong and they are mighty.
Well, when you get guys who drop anything to come do something sucky without even a question, I mean, that's brotherhood and that's fellowship.
Yeah. So that, I think it's a good reinforcement.
It wasn't, hey, I just got a boat, let's go hit Lake Watauga and rip it around and have a great time. It was like, hey, let's go swim in a swamp.
Jimmy loves suffering with pig activities.
Yeah.
It's like pigs are Jimmy's thing.
Well, Tyler too now.
Yeah, no, but Jimmy has a history.
And it's easy to sit there and say, hey, I'm not, we're not hanging out at the bar, we're not hitting the honky tonks.
The honky tonks.
Right. I've been out honky tonking. But you don't have all the bro time that you want. But when the chips are down, guys show up with strong backs and smiles and encouragement and get it done.
Keep talking. This might burn in. Hold on.
Okay.
It'll be a brief burn in if it is.
Would be on par with today, B walking in during the whole report.
Yeah, because the other piece of this was how for months now we've been trying to find someone to repair the roofs on our barn and our chicken coop. The chicken coop was essentially flooded as well, like not a single dry inch in there. So I was taking advantage of nap time to go and clean it out, and B was left in the house while Jason does Hope Report. And yeah, she's normally good about not bothering Dada when he's at work.
But she missed Miss Melissa, and then Miss Melissa wasn't on there with me. And so she used it as a moment to talk to the camera, which she loves to do.
She's very good at that.
Yeah. But so anyways, fellowship was great night before and doing sucky things. Knowing that the system that I designed for the big hogs on the hill works perfect.
Mhm.
And we just needed to
Oh,
We
we
thought-
just need to shift
yeah, we just
maternity
need to
to
shift
the
maternity to the
hillside. That's
hillside,
duh.
yeah.
Like, why didn't we do that?
Well, because
that section was kind of already established from how we had done fencing already, so it made sense in the moment.
Yeah.
But no,
so
now
now
it shall be moved.
it shall be moved.
Peg is up next, and you know what? We also learned love conquers all things. Doesn't matter the stress, the trauma, the fatigue that these guys might have experienced, because we had Peg's
Mating
daughter.
going
Peg's
on.
daughter was in season today, and Al could not let the opportunity pass.
Yeah.
So we might have an unwanted litter of pigs
Yeah.
later than we were hoping in the season.
Yeah. So there's that.
There's that.
And but anyways, a great week. Went and saw the Sound of Freedom.
Chime in if you've seen it.
Please let us know if you've seen it.
I did not go. So he went with Jimmy. He had a little
Jimmy reached out to me, and
date with Jimmy.
I
on that.
appreciate Jimmy staying on me and making me do that. So here's to you again, Jimmy.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
And I gave it a 7 and 7.5 because I felt like, it's a dark movie, but if you remember Saving Private Ryan, why do you remember Saving Private Ryan? Because of that horrific opening, the beach landing.
Mhm.
It's the most real combat footage ever.
Yeah.
It is. It's scarring. The Sound of Freedom is dark, but it doesn't scar you that way. They tried to make it palatable for a wider audience, and they did not go hard. I think they left the long-term memory of it
So do you think,
on the floor.
on the flip side, you also had a lot of people walking out. So that clearly meant that there's a lot of
The people that walked out are just candy-ass Christians. Like
Oh,
complete
well, you
wimps.
don't even know that they're Christians.
Well, I
but-
assume they were. This is like a 90% Christian club thing. They were dressed like Christians. They were Christians, and they are the
But
people that
so
we
would
ran
you
into.
say that there's that side of people who can't even take what was in it?
Yeah,
so
they're
clearly they
very
would not agree
entitled.
with your
They're very
assessment.
entitled, spoiled.
So do you think that they kind of had to, they walked the
They
line?
tried to
that-
walk the
yeah.
line, but I think they gutted. The Passion of Christ. Why is that so powerful? Because of the
Yeah,
gory
who can watch the
watching the person
the
that
torture scene with
that you love most, Jesus, be tortured.
yeah
to death,
yeah
right? If they just kind of whipped him a couple times and called it a day, and no one even talk about it.
mm-hmm.
Dude, I remember having to go sit
So
in the bathroom and chill after coming out of that movie. It was hardcore.
mhm.
Not walking out on it, but it was hardcore.
What stage of life were you when that came
SEAL
out?
teams.
You were active in
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah, well, of course, woke Christians or just spoiled, entitled, first world sheltered Christians.
The sheltered Christians, yeah.
We've encountered this in our own
Mhm.
life. Go ahead,
Mhm.
tell the story.
The
Self-defense
women's
class.
self-defense class. Yeah, I think we probably talked about it here before, but yeah, we were doing a women's self-defense class. It was hosted by a fitness club in the area. So it was like high school girls and their moms and stuff like that. And we just showed news footage of home invasions. And so it was the kind of
5
the
o'clock
way that
news
news
footage.
footage does, like the next part is too graphic to show, and so it will like pause it or blur it or something. So that edited version of it. And the host, the club, got complaints after from multiple people saying that their daughters couldn't sleep at night. They were having to pray to Jesus and for like
These were
peace
girls going off to college.
And yes, just from that footage. So that's the sheltered that can be on the flip side, the bad
You
side.
are raising victims.
Mm-hmm.
if that's your life. The only reason why you're not a target is because no one's wanted. No, you're not a victim yet. Is no one's wanted you yet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just disheartening.
So with the movie, your opinion was that they should have
I think it's good. I think everyone
gone
should
after
do
the
it. Right.
senses a little bit more. What you said with the sounds or the
Sounds, blood, interviewing the kids after and having a good acting kid say what happened.
Mhm.
You could have left without getting sexually graphic,
Yeah.
without showing things. You could have pulled on heartstrings in parallel ways.
Yeah. Well, I certainly know as a mom, shortly after having B, we watched that movie that's of that massacre that happened in the hotel in somewhere in Africa. Where was it? I can't remember which.
India, I thought,
In
wasn't it?
India.
Yeah.
And there is the characters that they chose for that. There is a mom with a baby.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing for me to watch with like my new mama bear hormones, hearing that baby cry.
Yeah.
And like newly having a baby myself. And so that sound for sure triggers something different. So I absolutely agree with you that would raise it significantly.
And the point
in
of
impact.
that is the difference between, hey, the Sound of Music was a really challenge, was a dark film. It was good. Everyone should see it. And you remember it
You
for a
just go-
year.
Did you just call it Sound of
Yeah,
Music?
sorry, Sound of Freedom.
I think a lot of people have been calling it Sound of
Sound of Freedom. We may remember it for a year or two.
That's too bad.
Right? Versus I will never forget Saving Private Ryan.
Mhm.
I will never forget Jaws. I will never forget other films like that because Passion of Christ, because they went there.
Yeah. I'll have to watch it and see if I agree with this assessment.
And that was a tactical decision on their part.
Mhm.
They wanted it to be PG.
Well, and so like Raquel, who was here, she went with her teenage daughter to see it, and she said that does open it up to a wider audience by not making it so hardcore that
But it's not 14
she
kids.
didn't think that she would be probably comfortable if she knew that it had something like what you were hoping for or thought would be more impactful, that it would have been appropriate for her daughter, but her daughter now has that awareness of the world and she's comfortable with her daughter. I mean, because she's not a sheltering parent, but she thought that might have
that
crossed the line.
movie's impact is not for teenagers. Like trying to make it PG-13 or whatever the rating was for it. Those aren't the people making those decisions. It should have been made. The Patriots, another great example. We the people. And Brandy.
Ah, yes.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
Braveheart, another one, right? The opening scene when he cuts her, when that British guy, whatever commander cuts his wife's throat. I saw it opening week, and then they took it out of the theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then you had to walk. You could only get where he actually draws the knife across her throat, like in the director's cut or something, because women said it was too violent against women. It wasn't the feminists, I guess. When I scroll down a little bit, it looks like there's nothing wrong with hardcore, truthful movies, but there is a smaller audience for it.
I think it depends on what audience are you trying to reach.
By all accounts, The Sound of Freedom
There you go.
was a success from Angel Studios again. It was made 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was obstructed the whole way, and I can't see a reason for it.
Yeah. For it being obstructed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly, I mean, it draws more attention to the people who are obstructing it for being like, why would you want to stop that?
Yeah.
And the same thing with all of the left media sources kind of writing all of these hit piece, the QAnon nonsense articles, being like, why can't we just get on the same page about something like this?
Like this should be something that we're all on board with.
Yeah.
But no, not them. Why? Because it's all a part of the
I saw
LGBTQ.
some headline, something
plus.
about the White House just like removed child trafficking as an issue of an importance or something. They like downgraded the
Ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, the FBI agents are too
What
busy
a
going
coincidence on
after
timing.
Catholics and, school board meetings instead of dealing with human trafficking. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I talked about this week on the Hope Report, was there was a lot of big interviews this week.
Mm-hmm.
There was Tucker Carlson and Andrew Tate.
Mm-hmm.
There was Jordan Peterson and Eric Metaxas.
I haven't heard. I overheard a lot of that you're listening to tape, but I haven't heard any of the Peterson one.
And there was some.
Who's Eric Metaxas? I know the name.
He is a Christian author.
Okay.
Who he's a friend of Mike Lindell's.
Okay.
Thank you, Brandy. He's written a bunch of books. He's went to Yale. Brilliant guy.
Okay.
He's a friend of Ken's as well. Ken Graves.
Ken Graves.
He spoke in there as well.
Okay.
He's on the Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Okay.
Scene. He's canceled off of YouTube. All that stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
but he's a
yeah.
Brilliant dude. And I didn't realize how brilliant he was until he's going up against Jordan Peterson on something that Jordan Peterson's not an expert on. And in correcting Jordan Peterson.
Was it this one? The
podcast?
The danger of false religions? Is that what that?
No, it's this part of the, it's something like the most
inflammatory things.
Yeah, 7 or a bunch of inflammatory things.
A podcast full of inflammatory things.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And, so let's first get into the Tucker Carlson Andrew Tate one.
Okay.
One, politically, I agree with both of them on just about everything that I can think. Politically.
Andrew Tate and
politically him.
Yeah.
I have yet to come across something I don't, other than he's probably more pro LGBTQ than I am, because he's more tolerant of that, I think.
I haven't seen him say anything one or the other.
But morally, right? And for those of you guys who don't know, Andrew Tate is one of those. He's a former MMA fighter. He's half English, half American. He's half black, half white. His dad was a CIA translator or something. I don't know, analyst or something. He grew up poor in a very rough part of Britain. Became an MMA world champion or kickboxing. I don't know which than kickboxing. And now he's very, and again, I don't try to lump him in with David Goggins, but him and David Goggins do a lot of the same things differently. He inspires guys to get in shape, to work hard, be successful.
He counters the toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Like that's his
He's an
shtick
alpha male
recently.
ambassador.
Yeah.
All right, let's call him an alpha male ambassador. But the problem with Andrew Tate and the problem with people like him is they don't understand that they think they're the heroes of their own story.
Yeah.
And Christians realize that we're the villains of our own story.
Yes, he's very into himself.
He's all about getting the Bugatti, whatever that is. Nice car, I guess. I don't know what one is. He lives in a castle in Romania, and he's now went to Romanian prison. He got charged with human trafficking, but not like what you think. It was like, I don't know, Instagram or
TikTok
something.
stuff, right?
TikTok stuff, right? OnlyFans stuff or something. And became, while he's in prison, he became a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And he chose Islam because no one messes with Muslims, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make fun of Muhammad, somebody shows up and kills you.
Okay.
You make fun of, that's what.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Christians get pushed around. And I saw him comment on somebody. He's like, yeah, try doing that with Islam and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, the wrong motivations behind
Sure.
what it is.
Yeah.
And his interview with Tucker Carlson was amazing entertainment. I mean, it inspired me. He is an inspiring person in some aspects. His just what's behind it is wrong.
Right.
He's not married. He's got a bunch of baby mamas. He's all about.
He's not a Christian, and so therefore he's not living a Christian life in the slightest.
Right. So, but I believe you can, if someone is trying to help you, and I think Andrew Tate is legitimately trying to help men.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's legitimately trying to help disenfranchised men. He's making money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But so is Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
So is David Goggins. That's what they do.
Yeah. So
like how much of that is really them and how much of that is the persona, the role that they're broadcasting out as their brand.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe that anyone who's trying who legitimately has your best interest and wants to help you, you can learn from. Now, sometimes it's learning what not to do.
Right. And you have to have the discernment of parsing out what and like cross-referencing, okay, this is his advice, cross-reference it with Christian living and see what can still stick and what has to be put aside.
Yeah. And, Jordan Peterson also falls in this alpha male space.
Mm-hmm.
But Jordan Peterson is so much more measured and so much more in tune with good and evil and morality. I don't know if he's a Christian yet, but he's pretty close. But what does that mean? Pretty close means you're still burning in hell, right? But he is helping a lot of people in the church, or helping a lot of people become saved.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he's far more responsible than Andrew Tate is.
100%
right? So when I broke it down, Chris, good to see you.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
So what I broke it down to be was that, hey, when you're watching Jordan Peterson, you can probably take in, you got to be on guard when you're listening to anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Even a pastor, you
Even
have
a
to be on
pastor,
guard
right?
with. Yeah.
But
It's across
with
the
Jordan
board.
Peterson, you can take 90% of it to the bank as good.
Right. Your default
Maybe 95.
is he'll be correct on this versus
He's
not.
got great intentions. He's a very pure soul. I think he's a great man. And, 90% of what he says you can probably take to the bank, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Tate, I would put in the 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Meaning he's got some amazing stuff that is right about not feeling sorry for yourself. Go out, work hard, bust your butt, be excellent.
Uh-huh.
Right? Which is biblical. Do everything at the best of your ability, even if it's sweeping chicken poop.
Right.
Do it as if you're doing it for God himself, because you are.
So that's the Christian version of what he advocates. Yes.
Right? And, so again, having any role model outside of Jesus Christ as a Christian is dangerous. Oh, sorry to hear that, Chris. Sorry that your daughter went back to Massachusetts. Sorry to hear that. But glad you're here with us. But you can take things from people who have excelled in areas and learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my point. So that interview I found very entertaining. Again, two guys saying things that we all say, just in different ways.
Yeah.
Right. But it was swearing.
What do you think about, so Tucker, he's a Christian, claims to be, talks, he has moments where he kind of more opens up about his faith and stuff, but he seems to, I don't know if devolve is the right word, but like when he's with a guest who is more coarse in their language, he seems to go there as well. Like, have you noticed that?
I have, and that's a turnoff.
Yeah.
You know, but I still think Tucker's the best we have right now.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely, Brandy. Not on how to be a Christian, but you can learn from a non-Christian on how to cook, how to lift weights, how to
Yeah.
do a skill,
Top-
but
Yeah.
not
pick
on
the
how to be a
topic.
Christian. You know, just a different topic.
Mhm.
You know, how,
Do you
so
want to get into the famine aspect of that conversation,
Sure,
or is
go
that a
for it.
tangent? Well, I mean, you listened to it, so
yeah, so one of the things that they brought up was, you know, feminism and all this like stupid, you know, what bathroom to use and all that. What is going to happen when the great famine hits?
mhm.
Like they were talking as if they both knew it was coming.
So they
And it's
were
a
talking.
fact.
They brought it up in reference to that feminism's going to go out the window
Yeah, that all this
because
stuff's going out the window. Like all this
because of all of the
stupidity, because it'll
violence
all
and
be
like
about
the hard.
survival.
Yeah, okay, but and that they didn't. Did they delve into their opinions about when or exactly
Nope.
what or any of it?
It was just like an unknown nod, like a known nod,
mm-hmm.
and say, hey, when
The famine.
come payday,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what are you going to do? Like when the great famine hits, like
Okay.
what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
And you know, and I think that again was very telling. Yeah,
You think
I
next
think
year,
so.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Christopher. I think that's when the critical mass will hit with the fertilizer, lack of crops, the war in Ukraine, the lack of a, you know, the third world is going to get decimated.
Mm.
You know, the third world is going to get decimated.
Let's be before or after the election,
So
or regardless of the
it'll
election.
be the winner of the
Independent,
election.
you think?
It's going to hit right at the election. So again, I thought that again was telling, you know, all their election stuff, all their COVID stuff, all that other stuff, you know, speaks for itself.
Mhm.
We're all in agreement of that. I don't want to clarify anything or say any more about that.
Yeah.
You know.
YouTube.
So the next interview I want to talk about was the Eric Metaxas being interviewed by Jordan Peterson. And I went through most of that interview pissed off. I thought Eric Metaxas kept interrupting Jordan Peterson and showing a lack of respect by constantly cutting him off, even though he was the interviewer.
He interviewed
Jordan Peterson was the
or
interviewer.
Jordan. Okay, vice versa. Okay.
So if there's anyone who's going to be doing that, it could be Eric. But I just didn't feel like I felt like he was rude.
Okay.
I love how Jordan Peterson, Eric Metaxas started off very, you know, hey, out of all the books I've read, you know, God wrote this book through me. And Jordan Peterson's like, stop. What exactly do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And drilled him down to the point where Eric Metaxas had to walk that back.
To say God wrote this book
Yeah, it was
through
something
me.
like that, you know,
Mhm.
like God inspired, whatever. He's like, I'm not, and Jordan Peterson really, why would God put us through the great famine? Well, famines have happened throughout the Bible, throughout history, because struggle.
I think he's letting our chips fall where they may.
Yeah. There are consequences for elections, our decisions, sin, and you know, there are consequences for evil in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you talk all the time about the common grace that he has given us and the blessings that to be more prepared for that.
Like
And then, I mean, like, yeah, so Chris's comment.
People, please be ready and learn to grow and raise your own food. 100%. Right? We all have, there is nothing you can't learn with the internet. You know, like Elon Musk, you know, has already said, you're an idiot if you go to college.
Mm-hmm.
If you go, you don't need to go to college. There is nothing you can't learn on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or the internet, or Rumble.
The risk being relying that you always have the internet to
Right.
go look
Well,
it up.
I'm just saying that now while you have it,
Sure, that's what I'm.
Right.
Yeah, but
You know,
don't assume that
so,
it all be.
yeah,
All,
don't
will
always
always be
assume that
there.
you're going to have it.
Yeah.
But the key point is we have been given a form of grace called common grace. And common grace is a gift to believers and non-believers alike. It is God so loved the world, he gave his one and only son, but there is common grace. Common grace is we have a beautiful planet. Common grace is the smell of flowers. Common grace is the laugh of children. Common grace is knowledge of history and learning from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone who's a student of history knows what happens. The empire crumbles. You can't do what America has done. You can't bankrupt yourself. You can't let your enemies in. You can't basically destroy yourself for as long as we have and have a country that hates itself survive. Can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Can't exist. I've been talking to members of the military who are actively serving I won't let my kids serve.
Mm-hmm.
I will not let my kids serve. I'm a veteran. I never thought I'd say that in a million years.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there's half of this population. I don't want my kid dying for them. No way. I'd rather them die defending this farm with us or our community or our state, for people who believe what we believe and share that. They're not going to go die for San Francisco.
Yeah.
No way.
Keep going on that interview.
So I was blown away by how brilliant Eric Metaxas is. Jordan Peterson showed his lack of understanding of the Protestant religion. Like he was trying to define Protestantism through Martin Luther.
Okay.
And Eric Metaxas wrote a 452-page book on Martin Luther. And
Okay.
Peterson took something from Protestantism, ascribed it to Martin Luther in a quote, and he's like, I wrote a 459-page book on him. He never said that.
Okay.
So Jordan Peterson had to walk back something he said.
Okay.
And he said, well, let me recant that and say, this is my understanding of Protestantism. And, and again, it was very cordial,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the first time I've ever felt like Jordan Peterson was out of his depth on a topic.
Okay.
That he was out.
And was the premise of the interview that they would be like equal sparring partners in this conversation, or that one would be
It wasn't a
educating
debate.
the other?
He was there to talk about his book. Eric Metaxas wrote a book, like a wake-up call to the church,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's basically what Doug Wilson's doing and what other people are doing, saying the church needs to wake up before everything's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Before Nazi,
Sure.
the Nazis pop up again. And Jordan Peterson has had the same things coming from a non-religious perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but pointing to religion as the answer.
Right.
Right. And pointing to the Bible as the answer without being a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's say it. I haven't heard him call Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. So you're not a Christian. Donald Trump, never heard him mention the word Jesus once.
Mm-hmm.
Not a Christian. Don't believe he's a Christian, not even for a second. No people who were in a room with him, with a bunch of pastors, asking him to give his life to Christ, and he said no.
Yeah.
That is firsthand information. So, not a Christian. So again, this makes me want to read a bunch of Eric Metaxas' stuff. He's
Okay.
probably in on the same page. I'm going to do it. He is an intellectual dweeb.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You can learn a lot from them
but
too.
yeah, sure. But my point is, and this is going to get into the last topic that we're going to get in here in the last 5 minutes, is relying on academics as your spiritual as your discipling is dangerous, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
A lack of real world experience, a lack of time in the trenches, a lack of sharing the same experiences is would be relying on somebody completely ignorant. Most pastors go from high school to college to seminary to pastoral.
Sure.
So Christopher said, love this country, but the country our forefathers, Jesus family, or forefathers created Jesus family country. Second two can be switched around. Jesus family country.
So he's saying he loves the country, but not the current version, essentially.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't trust anything about our country anymore. It breaks my heart. I mean, you're talking about somebody who used to believe everything.
Yeah.
But my point being is, Lauren and I have been looking for a church for us to go to in the morning because we have service in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And I, on 4th of July, I 100% say with the people, whoever the Republican candidate is, vote for him. Right? So in the primary, I will vote for DeSantis, period. That's who I'm going to vote for. But if Donald Trump is the candidate, I will vote for him. I will campaign for him because the other option is too terrible to consider. Right? So yeah, vote Republican no matter what is the answer to that. So I went and I looked at 4th of July sermons on some places that friends of ours go to. And again, I was horrified.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
We'll talk about what you found, and then we can.
Well, what I
expand on
found were sermons that didn't mention anything about the 4th of July, didn't mention anything about God's grace and the gift that he gave them for I mean, in case you guys don't know, the wealthiest 1% of the world, how much money do you think they make a year? Over what? It's $30,000. If you make $30,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that tells you something. People on welfare make that here.
Yeah.
And you have all these Christians who wipe their butt with America. They don't want to change the culture, Calvary Chapel. They don't want to respect the men who died and gave their sanity and their limbs and their days with their children and their days with their wife and having descendants and continuing their family line, pursuing their own happiness, gave all that up for them so that they could not appreciate it in the slightest.
Yeah.
And when we presented that to some people and we asked why the church didn't do that, and it wasn't their words, but go ahead.
Yeah. So this particular church, and I'm guessing
it's a Ligonier
church,
Reformed
yeah,
church.
So
I mean, I love Ligonier
they
Ministries. I love
subscribe
R.C.
to a
Sproul.
larger. Yeah. So the thought process there is that they do not stop. They do not take any holiday that's not like Christ
Christmas,
related.
Pentecost.
So, yeah, Easter, Christmas, Pentecost, yada yada. They don't acknowledge any of them for the purpose that coming together on Sunday at church is to worship God, not to quote unquote worship any other topic or group of people. And so to stop and to do a 4th of July sermon would be taking the attention off of worshiping God and essentially be worshiping country. They don't do a Mother's Day sermon. They don't do a Father's Day sermon.
Memorial Day sermon.
Veterans Day, like any of those, because it's not directly worshiping God to have a sermon on those topics.
What was
So
your
that
thought
was-
on that?
So that's the articulation of the argument in that defense.
Secondhand.
It doesn't make sense to me. It just seems I think that if you do like a sermon that's all like moms are great, it is like worshiping moms versus teaching women how to apply God's word to being a mom and how to raise godly children.
What's the biblical?
That's therefore worshiping God by honoring his commands as a mother. So I think it's kind of how do you take it? But of course, you can have a sermon on all of those topicals to acknowledge the importance of that day that our culture, our country has designated it, but pivoting it to worship God through it. And I think so. It seems the argument fell flat and again, we were hearing it from a parishioner's understanding of it, not from the church's kind of people in their leadership defending that position. But
Needless to say, it pissed me off. Our God is a great God. He is amazing. And every one of those points is another chance to show another aspect. Right? So on Mother's Day, why not teach biblical motherhood? On Father's Day, teach biblical fatherhood. Right? Those are two things that are the two most needed things in Christianity.
Right.
That we are failing at. Right? Memorial Day, sacrifice, what Christ did. Easy layup. Layup. It doesn't get any easier than that.
So I guess in that it would be like you're worshiping the veteran
No.
or instead that's kind of the argument, which still, yeah, I don't understand it.
And so what it comes down to is, again, there's a reason why we church shopped for as long as we did till we found Ken Graves.
Well, then until you started your own thing.
And then came down here because
Yeah.
no one gets it. No one gets the veteran. No one gets the first responder. No one gets like talking to someone who's actively serving or talking to my medical provider at the VA and saying, I don't think a single life of my friends that was lost was worth it.
Mm.
Not for this country, not for these people. I don't think, no way. I'd want them all back and for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a hard thing to swallow. I never thought I'd say that.
Yeah, I'm sure and coming from someone who's lived it so much as you have, it means more.
But I was glad to see that it also felt like you had a visceral reaction to that as well.
It just didn't make sense to me. It seems, and again, because we were not talking to someone who is like personally impassioned by the flip side of the argument, just kind of reporting what she understood it to be. She wasn't really defending it all that well, just kind of repeating the talking point. But so I don't know. But yeah, it didn't make sense to me. It seemed like an excuse.
Yeah.
And
a poor excuse.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, to have a policy across the board, we're not going to acknowledge any of these holidays that then at least they don't get accused of kind of picking and choosing or whatever. But yeah. And again, you were like, it was just Pride Month. And
did you preach against pride?
Yeah. So like, can
Nope.
you take that to inspire any biblical focus things about, what pride as you did, kind of what is the sin of pride and what does the rainbow actually mean? And, it is, and all of the things related to that topic are like all month long, you could do things on that. But again, that doesn't fall into worshiping God.
Yeah. Well, and that's And that's something that every parishioner is going to walk out there and have to deal with. Every congregant is going to walk out the door and get slapped in the face with a rainbow
Yeah,
pride
and so
flag, and not addressing that, and not.
well, she
Like-
said that that it was like the small group thing, and families, kind of have their own conversations about it, and that's just not what the church body does when they're there on Sunday. But that seems like it's passing the buck to the small group, or kind of the congregants to sort it out themselves. And it doesn't seem. It's like, why do you go to church? You learn to apply God's. You go to learn God's word, and then how to live it.
Well, guys, that time actually flew by.
We made it.
We made it, and I'm smoked.
Bedtime. I have to go throw 40 stupid Orpington chickens into the coop.
Oh, you didn't get a chance to do that yet?
They don't go in before 9:00 right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's disgusting. They're inviting God's judgment.
Yeah.
That's why get away from blue cities.
And
blue
isn't that
states.
like an offense, like a
It's against the law.
Yeah. So not only a statement, but also against the law, and like, whatever, flip the bird.
Get to godly high ground as quick as you can, because the wrath is coming, in my opinion. All right, everyone. We love you guys. God bless you. Strength and honor. See you on Sunday.
Good night, guys.
Bye.